People, check out these amazing promotions that we have this week on the Beeline Entertainment, LLC. And if you're interested in promoting on our shows, we want to see it. We know you have amazing content. Just hit us up, send us a message. We there, check it out. People, the Beeline Entertainment, LLC is proudly sponsored by Round Guys Brewing Company. That's right, get amazing crafted beers shipped straight to you. Round Guys Brewing Company. Check them out today at the link below. People, check out my man Philly D on the I'm Telling You podcast. Head on over to YouTube and subscribe today. It's a great show. I'm telling you.
He said it.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are the only one. 'Cause there's something special about you.
Straight to the point, baby.
It's going down in
3, 2, 1. People, it's your boy!
Brian B.
Let's go.
Back on the Beeline. I'm looking forward to it. I'm so excited.
Is the influence you have.
Again with strangers.
You gotta be a clean baby's ass.
Hold on real quick.
Knows the hands of fate.
People, it's your boy, Brian B. Welcome to the Beeline Web Show. Let's go. What's good? What's going on? Yo, listen, Beeline, people. It's another Tuesday, and I'm super excited. Yo, check it out. I've been telling you guys that we are doing some big things here at the Beeline Entertainment. And, I started off, I got the screen on the screen. My guest today, he ain't even in the waiting room. We was already talking. I had to get to know this man. I couldn't wait. So I'm sorry, y'all. I kind of cheated a little bit. But, yo, it's another Tuesday. It is the Beeline Web Show, red, white, and black show. We back at it. It's not the entertainment show, but we got a celebrity from one of the hottest, greatest movies, what some people would say is the greatest movie of all time. And that is, you can see Mr. Corleone hiding out in the background. Better watch my P's and Q's, man. I don't want to get in trouble with the family. Yes. But yo, we have from the movie The Godfather and so much more. We're going to get to know this great man today, Mr. Gianni Russo. That's right, baby. What's going on, Mr. Russo?
Wow, you sure you haven't? Were you an announcer in Fight Time or something?
Listen, man, I've been doing that a lot lately. I don't know why, like the Bruce Buffer thing. I like to make people feel like they're the president, man. I like to make people feel amazing.
Well, you made
me
feel good.
Thank you. Well, I'm definitely glad. Hey, Beeline, we're going to get to know Mr. Russo today. I hope you guys strap in. This is going to be an unbelievable episode. You're going to get to know a lot of really interesting stories from what I've heard so far. I'm just like you guys. I'm here with you, experiencing it with you. So without further ado, Mr. Gianni, I definitely want to open the floor. And the first thing I definitely always ask everybody that comes on the show is how you doing? How's it going? We just, experienced a brand new year, another year in the life. What's new, man?
Well, December 12th, I was 80 years old, man. And right, I just want you and your audience to know, I wish you what I have at 80.
Yeah. I hope, man. I hope, like we were just talking about, man, I hope that, I get to see that amount of time. I hope everybody gets to live a long, luxurious, informative, fun life, man. Who doesn't want that? There's been so much crap going on recently, and, people are kind of getting a little bit more sheltered. I had to think about that the other day. I'm in my house so much now, man. I used to never be home. And now it's like I'm in my house at all times. I work in my house. I do the show in my house. So to be 80 and have so much experience.
But the interesting about you saying that, at August 7th, 1949, I was diagnosed with polio, and they put me in Bellevue Hospital, a mental institution on 30th Street in the East End of New York. I was there for 5 years quarantined.
Oh,
now,
really?
In 49, reason I'm telling you this is I think your audience will appreciate why I appreciate life so much. Like, this pandemic that we're all going through the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I was in a pandemic where I watched 2,300 kids die in my hospital. And I was 7 years old.
Right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
And
with
the
polio,
hospital,
right?
Yeah, polio. Polio was like the pandemic at the time. And I was part of Jonas Salt's experiment. Took 3 years to get a vaccine. And so when this came along, COVID, I was like a veteran as far as how to cope with it and isolate, like you're saying, you're home too. But
yeah,
me, I was always I have a lot of homes, fortunately. The IRS has been trying to track them down, but I have homes everywhere. When I don't get indicted, I move, and then I wait.
There you go.
I wait for the indictment to elapse, and I come back. But well, I had 23 federal indictments, 3 murder ones that I beat, and it was all self-defense. And in fact, the last judge I was in front of, 89, he said, "Mr. Russo, you come in front of me again for self-defense. You better open up your shirt, have a big S, and fly out of here.
And fly out of here.
You're going to jail."
Damn.
So I had a conversation with the Pope, John Paul. I knew 3 popes, and John Paul now was a saint. And one time in the Vatican, and I mean, go online. There's no way today you can't hide. You talk about Gianni Russo in the Vatican, go online, you see me at the Vatican, because that's the good news about this whole exploitation that we know now. They just go online and find anything out. Years ago, people tell you a story, you got to go home and think about it. Now you just go on the phone while you're talking to the guy.
Fact check immediately. Yeah, exactly.
I see it on the street. People say, "Wait a minute, you're Gianni Russo," and then I see him on the phone. I say, "That's pretty rude." And they said, "Look, it's really him."
You gotta look it up. I do it too. I ain't gonna lie.
No, I mean the confirmation to me. Has given me another whole level of going where I'm at. Because now I have a podcast. I'm in 73 countries, Hollywood Godfather. And it's like, awesome. It's insane because most people don't realize in going where I've come from, I don't rest. I just love being out and doing. And like you're saying, now we have the opportunity, like we're talking now from Atlanta in my house, Zoom all over the world. I do the Today Show in London. I'm on stuff that I don't even leave my house. I got 15,000 watts on my ceiling. I can go anywhere I want, and I do it. And it's great. And
it is interesting. It is really interesting, man.
But it gives a young guy like yourself the opportunity. Well, here we are talking.
Yeah.
How would have we met? Nobody would have. And
that's what's really interesting about this whole podcasting. And I've been having this conversation with people that's came on recently. I mean, a lot of these podcasts that started have been from people being locked down, people kind of slowing down with life altogether. It's been a challenging time, but it's also been a very eye-opening time. And like right now I'm sitting here talking to somebody from the greatest movie of all time, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's crazy that experience came from me starting my show when we were going through some devastating life-changing shit. So it's just very interesting that is the mentality you got to face at this point. But that as it may.
And for me to see all the transitions, I went from transistor radios. I was laying in a hospital that had no televisions. Now you see what at our fingertips. It's amazing. So I mean, it's nice to see. I have a tremendous amount of, well, to me, a lot of children. I have 23 children, but to,
Ooh,
you know,
yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, you can say a lot for that one.
Oh, and my oldest son is my oldest daughter is 63. My oldest son is 64. So, I mean, I can go down to, 1-year-olds that are my grandchildren. So I've seen so many different transitions. And then my new book that's out right now called The Sixth Family on Amazon. And for your audience, if they want to know even more crazy nuts stuff that I've done, I just found out that Marilyn Monroe and I have a daughter who's 63 years of age. Her name is Pearl. That's like crazy.
You're dropping bombs, Mr. Russo. You're dropping bombs.
Oh, I got a lot of bombs. I got atomic bombs, man.
That was one of them right there. That was some crazy shit. Okay, so all right, let's kind of slow it down. All right, so that was something that I definitely want to touch on. All right, so you just said a whole bunch. Before we get to the Marilyn Monroe, because I want to come back to that real quick. We were talking a second ago, and you were explaining how, like, you've been kind of like, since you were younger, you've been kind of like, you've had a life, you had a very interesting life. Like you just said, you got 23 kids, right? You have a very healthy career. I mean, your Italian family background. Like, let's start from the beginning, man. So where did Mr. Gianni Russo start in the how'd you grow up and things like that?
Well, basically, my life started once I got out of the polio ward. Prior to that, I was, Little Italy, normal kid. On August 7th, 1949, I was diagnosed with polio. I was 6.5. My birthday's December 12th. And they came and took me out of my house. And, it was devastating. And they brought me to Bellevue on 30th and East End of New York, which is still there, the building, which sometimes I just go down there to humble myself and thank God for what I have, because I was on the 7th floor of that building for 5 years and never left the ward. And why I'm saying that also is sometimes when you're down and out and when you think you hadn't been dealt a bad hand, you should buy my other book, Hollywood Godfather. And the reason I wrote it was for people, even my children, to appreciate what you have, man. Don't think your cup is half empty. It's always half full. And it's up to you to fill the other half. And the last sentence in my book is, yes, you can. Because if I could do it, anybody could do it. I have no education. I'm illiterate, and I'm writing best-selling books now. I can't believe it.
Hey, listen, bro. Well, there's a will, there's a way, right? That's a good message, though, man. A lot of people do need to hear it, because I think that our convenience that we have now, and me included, I'm never excluding myself. And even at times, I have to sit back and just like look up the sky and like, thank you, God. I'm happy I have what I have. Because, it's easy to kind of get distracted and think that you don't have as much as you need, or you need more than what you have, either way. But you do have to humble yourself and kind of like bring yourself back to reality, even through the problems. There's always going to be struggles. There's always going to be something you got to deal with.
Oh, my God, yeah.
It's always going to be that.
I think, the struggles make us who we are. It gives me the energy. Like, I have kids that in their 60s or 50s, they have no ambition. They have too much too soon, but they want to go further. I don't want to stop. I'm expanding my food. I own Corleone Fine Foods throughout the world. How did I get that brand? Pacino even asked me, how did you get the rights to Corleone Fine Foods? So, I mean, again, go online. If your listeners are looking right now, see my food line, see my liquor line, see my clothing line. I'm not stopping.
You just keep going, man.
I just want to keep going, man.
Keep going.
But it's keeping me young. I don't feel 80 years old. I do 2 to 3 miles every day walking, nothing stupid. And now, that's even dangerous. So when I go into Bloomingdale's, which is a couple of blocks from my house, and I walk in a 9-story department store, air conditioning controlled and security, because the streets of New York are crazy again.
Oh, man.
So you got to find a way. And I won't take off my jewelry. I mean, this ring you could buy a lot with, but I mean, I'm not changing my lifestyle. Whoever wants to play a game with me, I will change your lifestyle immediately.
Listen, y'all. Listen, y'all better watch out. I wouldn't even try it. But listen. So yes, that's interesting, man. Because you started off this crazy. It's like I had this theory, man. I know this sounds real like childish or whatever. But you know what I always look at when I think of stuff like what you're saying. Batman, you know, and this, like I said, childish. Might sound childish, but Batman. And I always have this thing when I was going through life and I had my struggles and things that I was going through at a time. I was always like, you know, even Batman had to, you know, lose his mom, lose his dad, lose everything to become greatness. You know what I mean? And it's stupid, but it got me through a lot of stuff. Like, you know, just that mantra kind of got me through a lot of stuff. So it's like you saying that your life kind of started when you had that polio experience. When you got through that, did you kind of just take life by the reins? Like, yo, listen, I'm going through this now. Was it like your motivation?
Well, you know, the thing was with me, you know, I was so depressed because I didn't know what quarantine meant. Yeah. And now here I am, 6.5 years of age. I have no family, nobody coming to visit me. And one nurse, Dolores Barone, which is mentioned explicitly through my book, Hollywood Godfather, which is on Amazon. And the reason I keep exploring that, these are lessons in life. When you think you have nothing, read some of this stuff. Yeah. I prevailed because always other people helped me. I listened to them. I've had so many guardian angels, so many mentors. My mentors are public figures. I mean, my only acting teacher was Marlon Brando. My only singing teacher was Frank Sinatra. Listen, I was selling ballpoint pens when they were first invented in front of the Sherry Netherlands Hotel. I was a gimp. My whole left side of my body was still paralyzed. And I'm selling ballpoint pens out of a cigar box. I was buying for 15 cents down on Delancey Street, downtown New York.
Oh, yeah. I know.
And these people were giving me $5 and $10. And a guy called Frank Costello, who I didn't know who this guy was, came by every day, gave me $5, $10, gave me words of wisdom, never took a pen. I didn't care what this guy was. I waited for him every day. You come between 10:30 and 11. I didn't know what he was doing at the Sherry Netherlands. He was getting his shoe shined. What do I know about shoe shines?
Yeah, for real.
I was on the street, and this guy took me under his wing. One day, and it was a very important lesson, because he always never took a pen, but he always touched my left shoulder, which was my crippled side of my body. I didn't care what he wanted. For $10, touch whatever you want. Just give me the money.
You got to be careful saying that, man.
Well, I mean,
because you know so many damn people now.
Now, but I was a survivor,
right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, bringing that up at 12 years old, when you read the book, How I Got Out of the Hospital, I killed a pedophile. I was 12.
What?
Read the book, man.
Wait, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna drop, like I said, bombs.
I killed him with a broom handle because Dolores Barone, my floor nurse, who was Carlo Gambino's niece, and if anybody's familiar with the crime families in New York, the Gambino family was the strongest family in the world. He was like an extended uncle to me, and he told her to keep an eye on me. She warned me. Because now I was starting to mature. I was 11 or 12. She said, watch this guy. I said, what do you mean? You know what? Not like our kids, my grandchildren know more about sex than I did when I was 16. And they're 8. Yep. You know, everything is out there now.
For real.
And sure enough, this pedophile was a massage therapist. And he took advantage of kids. And I don't know what made me do what I did, but I prepared myself for him to come. And there was a porter's broom one day, because after a while, they wouldn't give me my bedpan anymore. They encouraged me to get out of bed. So I'd fall out of bed, crawl along the floor, get on the wall bars, and shuffle down to the bathroom. I wasn't going nowhere. I was in no hurry because I'm going back to bed.
Yeah.
I snapped the bristles of the broom off, and I sharpened the broom handle in the grout of the tile on the toilet because I couldn't stand at a urinal. I was crippled. And I went to that same toilet every day, the 4th toilet in Bellevue on the 7th floor. And sure enough, one night this guy came, and with God's will, I had enough strength just to guide with my gimp hand, but I was dragging myself for 4 or 5 years already. My upper body still, my muscle memory, I'm like onion at this age yet. And he came and he was trying to put his penis in my mouth.
Really?
Telling me it was a Hershey bar. While I'm sitting down, picture he's standing in front of me and he's trying to do whatever he was doing, but he didn't realize I reached down to the floor and I had my hand on my broom. And that stick, I picked it up and I guided it with my left hand and I hit him with such thrust under his rib cage, it went through his heart. This is what's in this book.
Listen,
to give you a life's lesson of survival.
That is really crazy, man. That is, I mean, it's crazy that you had, like, first off the polio thing, and then as you're dealing with the polio, that crazy, like, action movie shit. Listen, that's really interesting, man.
God, it's interesting. I just turned that book into a musical, and I have to thank Tom Cantone, who's the entertainment director from Mohegan Sun. He bought it for 9 casinos. I take you chronologically through my life as a musical. And a few weeks ago, Mel Gibson and Gene Simmons from Kiss, so many people came to see me at Herb Alpert's nightclub called Vibrato. And I'm looking out right from stage, right in front of me was Mel Gibson. I'm saying, why are they here? And then he asked to talk to me. He said, I've never seen anything like this. I read your book. This is insane. Now he's reading my next book and he wants to make a movie out of it, which I can imagine. Well, you know what it is? It's a true lesson of survival. And if you have the will, you will survive. And who knows how far you can go. And look where I've gone. I mean, I'm not bragging that I have a lot, but I got a lot.
Yeah, man. And you went through all of that. And then you're sitting there, like you said, your opening statement when we first started talking today was, you're 80 years old, man. You went through all of this stuff and you're still successfully, making it through life, not only making it, but thriving, still doing all this stuff, owning the companies.
Since then I've been shot, stabbed, kidnapped by Pablo Escobar, and I survived and he didn't. I mean,
let's talk about it, man.
This is craziness,
Yeah, for real. All right, so let's touch back on a bit. I mean, that was, man, I wasn't ready for that story. I feel like this is going to be one of them nights where it's just like story after story. You ain't going to hear Brian B talk that much. It's going to be the first time you don't really get that one. But I'm enjoying this. So you touched on, you have decent amount of children. You populated, put your babies out there. So you said one of them is with Marilyn Monroe. So kind of touch on, like, so how did you meet Marilyn? Was this your going into your acting time, that you've
no, it was long before that. I was working for Frank Costello after my little thing with him on the streets. He asked me to come to work for him as a messenger, and I did. I was 13. He owned the Copacabana a block away. In fact, this is his apartment. He left it to me when he died in 1973. I mean, what I have here, when you come be my guest, you come and sit here. I have an 8-stool bar with a dance floor, mirrored board. I mean, I got stuff right on 61st Street, New York. Forget it.
That's beautiful, man. I know right where the Copacabana is there. So I've been there before. Yeah, nice club.
That's the one on the west side. His, before you were born, was number 10, 60th Street, the Copacabana. Gotcha, and I mentioned Sinatra because my birthday was coming on December 12th. I was turning 7 years of age. Dolores Barone gave me a transistor radio, and I turned on the radio. I didn't know who Frank Sinatra was, but it happened to be his birthday that same day. And that's when I started relating to him. And I listen to Sinatra every day, even to today. Every day I listen to Sinatra. Not only had we become friends, he baptized my son Luciano. He became my singing teacher. I did opening acts for him. He get me more engagements, and I have a career as a singer because of him, which is another whole venue. I mean, it's crazy.
One of the greatest of all time. I mean, that's really amazing that you had to have like. So, how did you kind of keep falling into all of these experiences? Was it just something that was just happening?
It's that guy upstairs, man. I believe in God, and I don't care if you believe in a monkey, as long as you believe in something other than yourself and be true to it. And that's what I do. I mean, Costello was the first piece of the puzzle. He owned the Copa, so I met every major guy, including Sinatra. 3 months after my birthday, 3 years after my birthday, I'm in the kitchen. I'm hearing him singing, warming up and, doing a sound check. And I go out there and he looks at me. Then he looks at Julie Bodell, who was the manager, like, say, who's this kid? And Jules told him, he said, no, that's Costello's boy. I felt 10 feet tall. And he kept singing. He kept singing. I sat down. I listened to a couple of songs. And I waited for a break. He put a cig in his mouth. And I lit it. And I said, Mr. Sinatra, you saved my life. He said, oh, yeah, how'd I do that? I said, well, I had polio. I gave him a brief story. I said, and I came out, and then, I listened to the radio one day, and we found out we had the same birthdays. He said, oh, we're both Sagittarius? Yeah. I said, December 12th. He said, how'd I save your life? I said, you gave me the will to get out of my bed and get out of that hospital. As I was in Bellevue for 5 years straight with polio. He teared up. This is Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember, like back in the day, like we think now, you can start a Facebook page or whatever, celebrity, whatever, and you get messages continuously. You get pieces of mail, whatever, and they always see. And I'm not saying that it probably doesn't hit them, where it hurts or whatever in the feels, but they constantly have this. But I'm pretty sure back in the day where you didn't have that many avenues of communication, hearing somebody or seeing somebody right there and then saying, yo, you changed my life, like having you be so young, and then I'm pretty sure that must have changed his image in a way.
Well, you know what it was with him, because he wrote after I got to know him, but up until that time, the guy was doing 8 shows a night in the Paramount. 8 shows,
man.
So he said to me, what's your name? I said, The Kid. He said, no, what's your real name? I said, The Kid. He said, who gave you that name? I said, Frank Costello. Is you kidding me? I said, no, Frank Costello. I said, but I learned who you were because Mr. Gambino gave me a transistor radio for my birthday. He said, mean like Carlo Gambino? I said, yeah. He's, kid, I don't know who you are, but I want to become your friend.
He was his fan after that.
And we stayed friends all that while. And we really had some really great encounters with Grace Kelly, and goes on and on, going to Red Cross Ball. His whole romance with Ava Gardner, I shared it with him. The cries, the pains, everything. It's been a great journey. And then, and that's why I waited for a lot of statues to come in. And most people in America, 7-year statues in America, that's it, other than Murder One. But in Italy, it's 30-year statues. So I wrote the book in 95 and waited for a couple of more people to pass on. And then I released the book. And thank God, the book right now, if you go on Amazon, it's got 2,500 5-star reviews.
I bet, man.
The
stories are incredible.
It's in its 6th print.
That's beautiful. Yeah. We definitely got to make sure we get a copy of it. As a matter of fact, Beeline, if you're seeing it, you're seeing the pictures of it on the screen. You hear this story right here is incredible. We just like still kind of just started. We're not even like fully in it and everything. So I luckily Christmas time breaks your pockets and stuff like that. But I can't. I got to get my copies, man, because it's not only very interesting. It's extremely interesting, but it's also motivating. You know what I'm saying?
And see, also a lot of times. I never want to take advantage of friends and fans. My books are under $20. So anybody.
Under $20.
No, under 20.
Under 20, yeah.
So anybody can buy them. So that's why
awesome.
I did it also. I'm okay financially. So we did stats, like the last book that just came out is $18. So if you can't afford $18 to get an education on life, then crawl in a hole.
Better do something. Better do something else with yourself. But Mr. Russo, so I know that you were saying, so the whole Frank Sinatra, that's incredible. Like you were able to sing and work your way. But so how did you meet Marilyn Monroe, and how did that situation come up?
Well, I was working as a courier for Costello then every day, and one of my routes was Broadway, and I came out of Lindy's. Anybody know that place was open 24 hours a day? And a guy in a brown uniform stopped me. He said, "Kid, how old are you?" I said, "Who are you?" I thought he was a dog catcher. I knew he wasn't a cop. He had a brown uniform on. He said, "How come you're not in school?" I said, "What are you talking about school?" He said, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm 15. He said, "You got to go to school till you're 16. I said, "Don't worry about it." I had like $5,000 in my pocket. I was going to Toots Shores to meet Costello to give him the money.
Yeah.
I'm already on the street for 2 or 3 years with this guy. I'm making 100, 200 a day in my pocket then. So now I got a ticket. He writes me the ticket. So I walk into Toots Shores, and during the day, I mean, if you look up Toots Shores, that was the watering hole from 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't care who was there. Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe. They were married yet.
That's right.
Jackie Gleason was doing this TV show from the Corbett Theater, and it was the Letterman Theater. That was CBS and still is. So, I mean, the people I was around at that young age. So I walk in, and Costello sees me with the ticket, and I didn't catch it at first. He said, "How'd you get a ticket? Walking too fast." And everybody laughed. And I said, "What are they laughing about?" So he took the ticket, and he says, "This is a truant's ticket." He says, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm 15. He says, "I'll take care of this." So next day I see him. He says, "I took care of the ticket." I used to meet him every morning at the Waldorf Astoria at 12 o'clock. Because after the Appalachian fiasco with all the mob guys, he only met people in that hotel because they could check in the John Doe's, and that was it. So he tells me he got me registered in in Wilford Academy, which was a hairdressing school. So I don't want to be no hairdresser. I want to be with you. He said, no, don't worry about it. Just go there, check in, and leave. Be there 9 o'clock. So I go there the next morning. I'm already dressed. I'm dressing every day with a suit. I go there, and the teacher tells me, "Oh, Mr. Costello took care of it. Just come in, sign. And your 16th birthday, don't come back no more. Don't worry about it." Now I look over her shoulder. There's 20 or 30 young-looking girls. I mean, where are you going to find 20 or 30 girls at 9 o'clock in the morning in New York? So I used to go there every morning for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Mark Sinclair, who was the head colorist for Clairol, and Kenneth, who was Senator John F. Kennedy's wife's hairdresser, came in. They needed shampoo boys. And the teacher said, if you're a shampoo boy and they hire you, you could work there. You get credits as being from school, but you get the tips. Now, I used to walk past Lily Daché on 56th and Park. Every limousine, every hot chick, every socialite was going in there. So fortunately, these two folks, they saw me all dressed up. They picked me right away. The fourth head of hair I shampooed was Marilyn Monroe. I couldn't believe it. And it's not like shampoo basins lined up like we see in salons. They had rooms. They had a maid, took her up, took off clothes. She had a robe on. You go in a room, they give you a card, no name. But when I walked in, I saw her, and we all know the configuration of a shampoo basin. She was facing the ceiling, ready for shampoo. I don't even know how long I was looking at her. She said, "Is there somebody here?"
I'd have been looking for a while.
Well, the only reason why I was looking at so much, My routine when Costello went home, I'd either go to St. Patrick's Cathedral, because it was open 24 hours a day. I made a novena to St. Anthony. If I got out of there, I'm going to go there every day. And I did. And sometimes if I had nowhere to go, I'd sleep there. It was open 24 hours a day. It was warm. Or I'd go to the Paramount, which I can't believe when I reflect on my life now. I went to the Paramount Theater when I was 13. It was open 24 hours a day. And my biggest film in the world that still follows me around 4 generations, The Godfather, was made for Paramount.
Yeah. It's true.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it seems like everything kind of falls in line with your whole situation. That's incredible.
It's so insane. So now I'm going to Paramount because they were open 24 hours a day, and they were showing a movie, Some Like It Hot, Tony Curtis and Marilyn Monroe. And every night, this is funny, every night I'd come and they saw me. I was, a good-looking kid, but they would give me popcorn. And then next night I came, they gave me popcorn and more napkins, gave me popcorn and more napkins. And I'm saying, what's going on here? They realized I was in the balcony masturbating every time Marilyn Monroe was singing, I Want to Make Love to You in that sheer dress.
For real.
Now I got her.
Crazy.
Now I'm going to shampoo her hair. I couldn't believe it.
That's crazy.
And it said on the card, she likes a firm shampoo. So now I go over, they taught me how to test the water, put it on her inside of her wrist. She approves it. I start massaging her hair. And she starts moaning. And I'm massaging her hair.
This is some crazy shit right here, yo.
Hello. And not only that, but we all know the configuration of a shampoo basin. My 3-piece set was on her shoulders. And as I'm massaging her, I'm getting an erection. Now I'm helping her a year. I'm 15 years of age. Now she started requesting me, and the rest was history.
Damn, that is crazy, yo. Yo, listen, that might be one of the craziest stories I've ever heard. On some real shit. Like, I mean, I've heard some crazy stories, but to know that that's kind of how, like, I mean, because she was like one of the biggest, I mean, that's back in the days, Beyonce, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how it's looked at now.
Yeah.
I mean, Marilyn, to this day, she's like one of those staples of, like, exactly.
I own her diary, and you'll find out more about that in my second book.
Yeah.
But, when I was with her at Calneva, when they were trying to set her up to get pictures of her and Bobby Kennedy, because Bobby Kennedy was sabotaging the mob. After they got John F. Kennedy elected, I was a part of that whole thing for 3 years, traveling the world to get the culinary and the international encounters. I was just a messenger, but I knew what was going on. Because Joe Kennedy, as I pointed out earlier, and Frank Costello, they were partners during Prohibition. So Joe Kennedy made a deal with Frank Costello, get my son president, we will invade Cuba and get your casinos back. So it was a win-win for the mob. Nobody knew what that deal was about. But the mistake John made, as soon as he became president, he made his brother attorney general. His brother hated John, hated his father, and everything he stood for. He was a mama's boy. And he went after everybody, including the mob that got his brother elected. They waited 2 years for them to keep coming up with different things of how they were going to get Cuba back. And then that was it. They said, we're going to start killing your boys. And I thought they were going to start with Bobby. They started with John. I was there at Calneva. That's another big chapter in Hollywood Godfather. Yeah. And Marilyn was there. And when you hear what was going on, this is part of American history. It's a thread through what went on, man. It's crazy.
It is really crazy.
I'm the only one living and surviving and talking about it.
And that's why, like, this conversation right here, I wasn't even like thinking about, but it's really interesting. Like the whole John F. Kennedy thing, it's one of the, mysteries of the world. You know what I mean? Like, but the more I get older and kind of have these experiences, history changes every year. I've figured that out by now. They change history intentfully in a lot of ways. But I have heard the stories about like, the mob and John F. Kennedy things and stuff like that in the past, but you don't know what to believe. You know what I mean? There's so much information. There's so much information that there's, too much, and anything could be right and anything could be wrong. But so here's a question for you, because you're somebody with a lot of history in in this field. But so how do I word this? I was watching The Sopranos. I just watched The Sopranos for the first time in my life. I never watched The Sopranos before. I just finished watching it maybe like a couple months ago. Great show, amazing show.
It was entertaining. It was all
entertaining. Entertaining.
Yeah.
But when you hear about stuff like, the mob, and you hear about like, the cartel, and it seems like these people have such a higher position of power than what is established when you're looking at it when it's in the media, like when you're watching The Sopranos or when you're watching stuff like that. Like they literally have their hand like in the deepest level of the politicians and in the politics or whatever. Is that like, credible? Is that how it really is? Like
always was. I mean, David Chase, who wrote The Sopranos, wrote me a movie called The Dwarf and the Helium Hat when he was a writer for the 90-minute movies that were on television long before you were born. And I did the movie. So he submitted the script to me. He wanted me to read it. And he called me 2 or 3 weeks later. He's to read the script? I said, no. He's, why? I want you to play Tony Soprano. I said, I didn't get past the first page. He's, why? I said, let me tell you something. You have no idea what I know about this. But I know one thing. No mob boss is going to walk in his driveway in his robe in the morning and get his own newspaper, because the next day he'd be assassinated.
Right.
What mob guy? And then he depicted us like morons. The guy's cursing. He's in his underwear in front of his kids, and that never happened in an Italian household. I mean, David Chase, I like the guy, and then they had their headquarters in Bada Bing strip club. Are you crazy? You're going to put a mob guys are going to go to a strip joint where everybody's I mean, it was a cartoon.
It was entertaining, man.
Oh no, the world thinks that's the way it was, man. I laughed at it.
That's why, and that's why, because you hear stories about like, when you hear like, real, especially like, you hear a lot about like the cartel and stuff like that nowadays, and you get to, like you were saying with the Pablo Escobar, like they had the Narcos show on Netflix, and that was really interesting too, man. I'm like, but it's such power, and you're built up to think that like, the government is like the biggest source of power and this and that and all that, but you realize like there's a lot of other places.
There's a lot of backdoor. I mean, when you start to think about the cartels, even the unions, when these unions like the Teamsters and International Longshoremen, their membership body can swing an election any way they want. So I know for a fact, and it's interesting, most people who are not in the world we're in or knowing law like I had to learn, to get a book published like my first book, it has to be vetted by the publisher. So when you put something in the book, they're worried about being sued if it's not right.
Yeah.
So
Mr. Larry Hankin taught me this one.
So it took a year to vet my book. So when you're reading in my book that I flew down to see Pablo Escobar, and I did, I took out Lorenzo Morales, his second lieutenant, in my club in Vegas called State Street. Look it up. October 28th, 1988. I shot Lorenzo Morales between the eyes in front of 150 people after he slit my throat.
Damn.
No, I mean, that's why this book is not a cartoon, man. This is part of real history and real record of history. And you follow Follow the yellow brick road and you'll see where it's going, man. It's crazy.
That's really crazy, because you want to know something? These events that you're saying in your book, that's literally on sale, like you said, under $20. It's such big pieces of history. It's what the media is redepicting to be formulated however we're going to remember it, how they're putting it on Netflix or how they're putting it on, HBO. We're not going to know the real, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to think that, when this happens, oh, this is what it is. This is how it happens. But then you're bringing out like somebody who lived it, the real stories.
No, but see, we were raised as a kid when, you name the best news media people in the world. When they told you something, it was news. It wasn't influenced by political power. Today, you're getting what they want you to hear. It's all propaganda. Exactly. Unfortunately, man. And these news stories and all this is all about population and their ratings. It's not about the truth anymore. So what do you believe? You keep switching. Somebody's telling you something different. I don't even watch TV no more. It's over with. I'll see you later.
It's only right now. That's how it is. So much forms of news, even you don't know what to believe. But so when you had that experience with, so we, covered the Marilyn Manson, which is a crazy story. So Pablo Escobar, like just for people who like maybe not up on the information or haven't heard of him before. So this is one of the most, powerful men in I mean, what do you even call it? What is his background?
Well, the Medina cartel. I mean, this guy, he was doing $1 billion a month. A B, not an M. B. He made a deal with the American government and the Colombian government. He built his own prison.
Yeah, that's some crazy shit. That's really crazy, man.
And he said, "I'll stay here now. Leave me alone." He was still doing what he was doing. That's how much power he had. And it's crazy. Man. And the guy, his guy Lorenzo Morales came into my club. I mean, you can go online, go to State Street Restaurant, the killing of Lorenzo Morales, October 28th, 1989, in Las Vegas. I killed him. He slipped.
When you had this, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I catch, because this is crazy information I'm getting right now on the beeline. But when this happened, like, were you in some kind of altercation? Was it like past history, or?
I had nothing to do with it. State Street was opened by Sinatra, Sammy Davis, and Demon. The first weekend I opened in 1980, they came, did the whole weekend. Anytime these celebrities were in town, they were there. I came up with the idea. I served gourmet food from 6 at night till 6 in the morning. Because me being out all night long, after you come out of the second shows when they had them in Vegas with all celebrities, you can only go to a coffee shop.
Yeah.
So I created a gourmet restaurant that served tableside service until 6 in the morning, beluga, caviar, whatever you wanted. And I made house accounts with all the casinos. So the high rollers wanted to go somewhere, I'd send a limousine and pick them up. This guy came, Lorenzo Morales, one night with a girl called Laura Manis. My mind's like a steel trap at 80 years old.
Bro, I'm telling you, because I don't know how you remember. I can remember shit I did yesterday. Like, you got the names and everything. But you got some pretty big events that you remember it too, though.
I could tell you the chauffeur's name too. But anyway.
It's crazy, yo.
They came in, and the next name I'm going to throw at you, your audience knows, and a great guy, a good friend till today. And I put him in some of my books. He's in my 2 of my books already. His name is Steve Sharippa. You know him from The Sopranos. And you know him from Blue Bloods.
That's right. Yeah, okay, I know you're talking about.
Steve Sharippa was going to UNLV, the college, and I used to hire all those kids to help them. My daughters and kids were going to those schools, and Steve was a big guy like he is now. So I put him in a tuxedo. He was at the front door. So I used to be perched. I had a bar and piano bar above, looking at 3 different dining rooms. So you hung out there and you saw what was going on.
Got you.
And I saw this guy come in, I'm painting the picture for you now. And he's giving everybody $100 bills, which I saw that in Vegas a lot. The guy got a big score. They give it away. So I called up from the front desk on my bar to the desk. I said, Steve, who's that guy on 7? He's, I don't know, boss. They sent him in from Caesar's Palace. And I had everybody have a rating. I said, what's his rating? He's got 5 stars. I said, go ahead, load him up. That means Caesar is picking up the check. So I whacked him with a bottle of Cristal, a bottle of Louis XIII, 2 ounces of Beluga caviar pate. His check was $1,800. We're talking about an 89.
Yeah.
In 10 minutes.
10,000 a year, yeah.
Hello. So now he breaks a Cristal bottle that I just gave him, and he stuck it in his girlfriend's face. So I said, Steve, get over to 7. He just stabbed the girl. He said, I ain't going over there, boss. That guy's nuts. So I figured I got to get over there because I got a casino. I got licenses here.
Yeah.
So I walked over. I introduced myself. And I said, what's your name? He said, you don't want to know, man. Man? I said, where you from? You don't want to know. And I didn't know he still had the bottle in his hand. So he goes for the lady, and he surprised me and turns around and goes to my chest. I was only 40 years of age at the time. I went back, and he slit me along my chin line, 81 stitches. My chin is hanging. And I'm saying, how am I going to defuse this guy before he kills somebody else or stabs somebody else? So I said, look what you did. This is a Sea Island cotton shirt. I waited 6 months for this material. Look what you did to my shirt. He's looking at me saying, like, I just cut this guy. He's worried about his shirt. I just wanted to get my hand on my gun, which I was permitted to have in Nevada.
Yeah.
So I pulled the gun. I put it right into his forehead. I said, now, let me tell you something, asshole. Either you walk out, you hear those sirens, they're coming from you. I don't need any trouble. I don't want to even know your name. Get out of here. I got to get this lady to the hospital. Thank God he missed her eye. He stabbed her right in the face.
That's fucking crazy, man. Oof.
I know. So he said, F you, man. I said, F me. I put 2 right between his eyes. The blood is coming down his forehead like a mosquito bit him. Then I realized I need a bigger caliber gun. But I didn't realize how high he was on coke.
Oh, yeah, man.
And then I put the other 3 in his chest, and that was over with. Only to find out he was the underboss of Pablo Escobar, and they were Marilitos. And they told me in the hospital, because now I'm in, the hospital right near, what the hell was it? Paradise Hospital and Sunrise Hospital. And they come in, and Coots, the detective, says, I got good news and I got bad news. I said, what's the good news? Lorenzo Morales is dead. I said, that's good news. He said, no, it's not. He's a Marilito. He's an underboss to Pablo Escobar. They're going to kill your dogs, your neighbors, your kids. Then you last. They want you to suffer. So now I fly into New York to see John Gotti, who was not a big fan of mine. Because after I did The Godfather, it was all about him. And I knew him all my life. So I walk into the club. I've been there 100 times long before John even went. The Ravenite, 247 Mulberry Street. And he's, oh, look at who's here, Mr. Hollywood. Now he's a killer. He's killing people. I said, John, I got a problem. He said, oh, you got a problem. All right. I said, I want to go see Pablo Escobar. He said, what? I said, I want to go see Pablo Escobar. He said, you're going to fly down to see Pablo Escobar. I said, yeah. He said, I'm going to buy you the ticket. He thought he'd never see me again.
He was trying to send you on a first class flight.
Yeah. So I'm down there. I meet him in a church. The only comfort I had, I was going to meet him in church. I'm very religious. And there he was. Long story short, I get to the altar. Is you Gianni Russo? I said, yeah. That was it. The lights went out. I wake up in the prison he built, 3 floors down, shackled, no clothes on. I'm shackled to an iron chair. And this guy's in the fatigues having their way with me. There was body bags laying around me. The stench in that room, you wanted to die anyway. I don't know how long I was there. A guy is standing in front of me. I'm in a chair, slumped over. He's dressed to the nines, and he had a book in his hand. You're not going to believe this. He had a book in his hand called The Making of the Godfather. And he says to me, why don't you tell me you were Carlo? That's my favorite movie. Clean him up and bring him up to the house. It was Pablo Escobar.
For real.
He saved my life. I'm in his dining room hours later. He says, why would you come here? I said, I did my homework. You have a daughter, Gina. I have a daughter, Gia, the same age. If somebody was going to kill your daughter, like I heard you guys were going to do, wouldn't you come? He walked down the other end of the table, gave me a hug. And he says, there's no men like you. He says, I'm going to straighten this out for you. He never told me what Gotti told him. God knows the story Gotti told him.
Yeah.
This, what I'm about to tell you, is going to blow your mind and your audience's mind. You got to do me one favor, though, before you leave. I said, whatever you want. You want me to cut the grass? I'm playing with the guy.
Yeah.
He said, no. He said, I want to do the last scene that you did with Pacino. I said, I knew the scene. I said, what scene? You know, when he comes into your living room, and I'm saying to myself, this is how this guy's going to kill me. I said, you want me to write the lines down? He said, no, I know them. He's come up here, sit where I was, which was near the front door. And he got up with a couple of guys and came in the door like Michael did. He said, Carlo, you got to answer for Santini. And we do the whole scene. You think this farce you played out with my sister could fool a Corleone? And he gives me the airline ticket. We go through the whole motions. I said, this crazy bastard is going to walk me out and have me killed.
Yeah.
We walk out to the car. He opens the door for me. Now it's not Clemenza in the back seat. It's a couple of his guys in the driver. They're all in fatigues. And as soon as I sit in the front seat, they said, hello, Carlo. And they all busted out laughing. I was going to shit my pants. I thought I was dead.
I would have.
I wouldn't
have made it to the car, I don't think.
He says, get out of here. I'll take care of it. And he did. You believe it?
Unbelievable.
You can't make these stories up. This is nuts.
I tell you, man. I mean, it sounds like literally shit from a movie. But yeah. I mean, if this is like the stuff that's happened in your life, man, I mean, no wonder you made it. Like, I mean, I'm 80 years old. It's like you can't go anywhere. You got all this crazy stuff to share, man.
No, but I don't even care.
It's really crazy.
I walk out my house, and now with all the violence, I ain't changing. I ain't taking my jewelry off. I ain't doing nothing. I bought certain canes that I wear because they told me I got a carry permit, which is very hard to get in New York, concealed weapon. He's don't shoot anybody.
New York, man. Woo, I didn't even know that was available in New York.
He said, don't shoot anybody, especially now. So I had these special canes made. So far, I'm 4 for 4. People circle me, want to take my Rolex, want to take this, and you know what? Rob somebody else. Don't come near me. And I'm 4 for 4 without getting, into the whole situation. But to me, that's why my attitude after surviving Bellevue, what are you going to threaten me with?
That's what's really crazy, man. Because it's like from all of these stories, like, I think people hear it, people who have like, semi, pretty normal life. Everybody goes through something usually. Some people have way more traumatic experiences or whatever, but you actually were in a situation that, I mean, not a lot of people can say that they were in. How was the, I don't want to go back because I got to ask a couple more things, but how was I'm pretty sure it was bad, but you had polio and you were seeing, people pass away and stuff like that, dealing with it. But how was the actual hospital? Because you said the nurse, and she seemed like she was like, looking out for you a little bit. But was there like a lot of wild stuff that you were having to kind of deal with? Like,
well, there was
prison like.
No, the thing, what it was, because they didn't know what they were dealing with. And kids were dying left and right. I was in a 20-bed ward. So if you died before you went to therapy, when you came back, that bed was sterilized and they went to heaven. And I was already an altar boy at 6 years old. My grandmother took me to church every day. And I was so confused saying, God, why are you doing this to me? And then when they had an experimental drug, the first vaccine that Jonas Salk created, they split the 20 beds down the center. 10 got it and 10 didn't. And I didn't get the vaccine. And I'm saying to myself, what's going on here? Why is he doing this to me? Talking to God.
Yeah.
Those kids in the next 10 days escalated and all died.
I was just thinking to myself in my head, like, it's probably good you didn't get the vaccine, because it's like so much with that stuff, man. Even now, like with the whole COVID thing, I mean, it's a whole nother story, but man, they be formulating all that stuff.
I agree with you, man. I haven't had COVID. I've lost 41 friends in 2 years. I mean, major guys.
Crazy, man.
Tough guys, young guys, old guys, children. I didn't take the vaccine.
Yeah, I didn't take it either. I did get COVID. I got COVID the first year. I mean, it really I mean, I'm lucky, you know. I know that definitely did stuff to a lot of other people, but it was pretty much the cold for me, man. I had a bad cold, kind of like the flu.
Well,
Had that for a couple days.
What kind of health you're in, you know?
Yeah, I'm big as hell. Yeah, but I got lucky. I mean, me and my girlfriend had it. I think my kids had it a little bit too.
You have children? How many children? Yeah.
Yeah, I got three kids, man. I got a set of twins and a 4-year-old running around here wilding out every day.
Oh, that's great, man. That's good. God bless.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I definitely enjoy being a dad. No twins?
No, I got 9.
You got a lot of chances.
I got 9 boys, 3 girls, with 10 mothers.
Ooh,
and,
okay.
Then all my grandchildren. It's been a great
beautiful thing, isn't it, man? Isn't it crazy? I'm pretty sure for somebody like you to be able to hear, like, you know, grandpa's stories, especially the grandkids. And like, God, you know, my grandpa was a badass. Like, you know, ain't nothing you can tell me now. It's like, that's got to be incredible.
Oh yeah, and some of my kids have been so accomplished too. I don't even mention them even in the book. I changed their names because they really have their own identity. They've done very well. Fortunately, I've been blessed.
It's awesome, man. Yeah, congratulations on that.
Based on the mothers, I didn't change a diaper. I was always out there, man.
Yeah. So when you started acting, I mean, I know you did, you know, of course, The Godfather. Let's start there, because I mean, The Godfather, like, you know, amazing, you know, actors. I mean, Al Pacino for one, you know, one of the most talented guys, Robert De Niro, you know, Marlon Brando. Like, so how was it? You know, the Godfather was your first acting experience, right?
Never did anything before in my life. My ego, the book was already in its 3rd print, and I read something in the paper that they were going to use unknowns to be Italians and all that. I was 26 at the time when they started publicizing that. And I said, I can do that. And then a friend of mine, Joe Colombo, one of the 5 families in New York, started picking the FBI building and, you know, trying to suppress the film being made. It was depicting the Italians. And he was only doing it for his own problems with his family. His son, Joe Jr., got arrested. So I figured, wait a minute. This is a great shot. I can make this happen. So I flew into New York. I was in Vegas at the time. I flew into New York and went right to 86th Street to see Joe Colombo. I knew him well. And I said, Joe, what's all this going on? I said, you just hired this guy, Barry Schlotnick, this young Jewish attorney, to represent the Italian Defamation League. Why don't you meet with them? What you don't like in the script, if they change it, why don't you cooperate with them? Now, this next line is very important. I said, if you do that, we could make a lot of money. He said, oh, yeah? How are we going to make a lot of money?
That we part.
Well, the we part, see, I know how the mob thinks. If there's money involved, they'll, you know, turn a blind eye for a lot of things. So I said, how are you going to make the money? If they agree to make the changes, let the unions, the neighborhoods cooperate, and then we'll get the world premiere in every major city. The tickets will be 150 to 200 in every city. We can make millions. He said, you think you could do that? I said, I think I can. You got to give me permission to go talk on your behalf. So he looked at Barry Schlotnick. He said, what do you think? And this is the truth. You could watch The Offer. You could watch anything that's out there. This is in my book. In fact, Mark Seal wrote about this 25 years ago. In I forgot the magazine. He writes from one of the biggest magazines when we had the 25th anniversary. Now they changed all of that. Al Ruddy did this, he did that. He did nothing. He was scared shit of all these people. So anyway, I go to Gulf and Western Building, which is now Trump Tower, 33rd floor. I see all these guys coming in the morning. I go up to them, Al Ruddy, Stanley Jaffe, even Charlie Bluedorn, who bought Paramount. He just bought Paramount. And you guys have a big problem in New York. They said, no, we don't. I said, let me just tell you something. You could bullshit anybody you want. But I just left Joe Colombo. He wants to meet. He said, you just left who? I said, I just left Joe Colombo at the league office. He wants to meet. He said, will he come here? I said, come anywhere you want. He said, could you bring him here tomorrow at 10 o'clock? I said, I'll bring him. And that's how this whole thing started. I don't care what you're reading. So we go there. And I told him, I said, bring some heavies with you because they read The Godfather. They wrote the script. They're looking at Joe Colombo to walk in here like a Don. You are a Don. So guess who he brings? He brings Butter Chico, a major guy, and he brings Loco Brazzi, Lenny Montana in the movie. Lenny Montana played Luco Brazzi because he was a collector for him. He was an ex-wrestler. He was a collector for the Colombo family. So we go there with the spinning image and this Jewish lawyer. We sit down, we work out all the problems, and they shake hands. I said, Joe, what about me? So he said, yeah, what about my boy here? Now I'm 26 years of age. I don't need any money. I got money. I made so much with Costello, forget about it. So I said, oh, we'll give him a part. Ruddy said, we'll give him up a part. I said, hold, wait a minute. I said, Joe, tell them all to sit down. They were shaking hands, getting ready to leave. I said, Joe, tell them to sit down. He goes like this. He said, with his hand, didn't say nothing. They all sat down. Stanley Jaffe, Charlie Bluetooth, they all sit down.
Power, man.
So I said, let me tell something to you. If I didn't meet you in the lobby, this guy wouldn't be here. Now you're going to go ahead with this movie? I want a major part. I said, who's playing? This may surprise you and your audience. I said, who's playing Michael? They said, James Caan. I said, hey, who's playing Sonny? They said, Carmine Caridi. He was on Broadway in a play called The Man from La Mancha because they thought he should be this big guy. I said, who's playing Carlo? They were the three agents I thought I could play. They said, we didn't get it there yet. I said, Joe, I want to play Carlo. So he looks at me, do you want to play Carlo? It's okay. He says, he's playing Carlo. This is the president of Paramount, Bobby Evans. Everybody was sitting there. And he said, he's playing Carlo. And they're looking at each other. He says, he's playing Carlo. I'm walking out of here. And that's how I got the part of Carlo.
It was a power move how you got your, yo, listen, man. You know what's also interesting about that story? It's like the involvement, because you question it, because it's such a, like, it seems like it's such a real depiction, but like we're talking now about, like, you know, The Sopranos and different stuff like that, like things are shown differently in the media. So was it a big deal when the Godfather was coming out, and, like, you know, was the actual, like, the mobs and stuff like that, were they really were they against it?
Oh, no, they were against it for a minute. Joe Colombo was.
Yeah.
I saw the transition. I'm from the neighborhood. I watched guys who were wearing warm-up suits and track suits, whatever you want to call them. All of a sudden, this movie came out. They're all wearing ties and
suit and ties.
Now,
created a whole freaking world, man. Even now, I mean,
I watched John Gotti turn into a Dapper Dan from that movie. You know, it's crazy how it's such a transition, and it was great for the Italian Americans because, I mean, when you digest the movie and other than the violence, there was a lot of good messages.
That's what I was paying attention to.
family.
Yeah, that's what I was paying attention to. Family. Yeah, even with The Sopranos, like it's one thing to kind of like, yeah, it's violent, it's this and that's depicting that, but when you really pay attention to like the camaraderie, man, that you guys have with the Italian family and how strong they stick together, and that's a good message as well. Like if you could see that point of it. Yeah,
I
that's
just traveled.
incredible.
I don't know if you ever heard of Jacob the Jeweler.
Yeah, I have.
All right.
Back in the day, Jacob the Jeweler.
Well, Jacob the Jeweler licensed. I own most of the licenses from The Godfather. Like when I said Corleone, fine Italian foods, go online, you'll see. The liquor, all of that. So Jacob the Jeweler licensed making a Godfather watch. And then he was going to do booze. He tried to get around me, and they kept telling me, you got to go talk to Gianni Russo, which he couldn't believe. He's talking to me. But who's it? Who are you? So long story short, I go to Sicily with him this past year. We were there.
Yeah.
He had the watch. I was the spokesperson. I got a gang of money for going, private jet, did the whole thing. And he realized without the stars or somebody from the movie, you could be Jacob the Jeweler.
Yeah.
But people are so interested in this movie. Do you know he sold that night 6 $500,000 watches, 6 of them for $500,000 a piece? That's insanity.
It is unreal, man.
But that's the magnetism. This movie still 4 generations. The Godfather's not going anywhere. I just renewed all my licenses. I have Godfather coffee coming out next month.
Yo, it's something that it's depicted as the greatest movie of all time. Literally, I mean, agree with it or disagree. That's the title it has, and it's never going to go anywhere, man. It's never. It's a great movie. It is great. I actually watched it for the first time recently too. I've missed it. I've watched Scarface 7,000 times, but I haven't watched The Godfather as much. As I'm getting older, I'm trying to touch bases on movies that I have missed in my in my past or whatever.
Well, you being a young man, you could see the message that this movie has carried, and it's not going anywhere. The movie still stands up, and you can watch an old Western and see how goofy it is. Watch this movie that was made 52 years ago. It still stands up.
Crazy it's that long, man. Yeah, it's crazy it's that long ago, man.
Yeah,
forget about it. But it's also I think personally it's some realism, even though it is kind of it's of course it's fiction. The story's fiction, but it's more realism as far as just like you said, it's an actual movie.
It's the true way of life and what it was.
Exactly. Yeah.
And, and the people. It's I find interesting because I did a study long ago because I wondered how Humphrey Bogart and James Cagney and all these people, George Raft, who I got very friendly with in London. Women were always enamored with gangsters. Men were always intrigued to be them. So there was a whole different aura out there other than the normal celebrity. They loved the intrigue in that dark
bad
area.
Boy.
That's it.
Bad boy. Yeah. That makes sense.
I was always on the edge. I always tell people I'm not black and white. I'm in the gray.
Yeah, should I say that now? I say that people they hate because I'm on the fence. I'm like, yo, listen, I'm in the middle, yo. I can see both sides. You have to be able to see both sides in order to make an intelligent decision, man.
Yeah,
that's what I feel. That's really incredible. Hey, Mr. Gianni, man, it's been unreal having you on with these crazy stories, man. You listen, to know it's just like your life that you've lived, and coming from, like I stated in the beginning, the most popular movie of all time, the most known, the greatest movie of all time. So you have a lot of stuff going on. I mean, are you happily retired now? I mean, you just said you just went.
No way.
You still like flying everywhere, and
I work 3 time zones a day. I'm all over the place. Why do I want to retire? I'm having too much fun.
Enjoying life, man. 80 years old, you made it. You're successful. I mean, congratulations on all of your success, your children's success.
I got a lot going on.
I'm not done. Man, I gotta get on your level. But it's been an honor having you come on here and grace the show with your presence and your information.
Oh, Brian, thank you. Anytime you call me, I'll be on. Let's have fun. God bless you. big success. I know, I can tell you know what you're doing.
Thank you.
Let's share our celebrity and what we have going on.
I would love that. I would definitely love that. And yeah, I would definitely love to have you come back on, talk about some more things, maybe even do kind of like a thing. We talk about some movies, past and present, you know. So let me ask you now, we talked a lot about history. What do you like watching now? Like, you got any kind of shows? I mean, they got some amazing shows out now. And
I don't watch anything. You know what it is? I'm in development with a couple of projects.
Okay.
I'm writing 2 books a year.
Okay.
I'm doing my audiobooks myself. So when you buy an audiobook, it's me.
Your voice? Oh, that's gonna be classic right there.
And then I do my own little anecdotes in it, and it's I've learned something that, you know, I'm learning different mediums. What do I know about a podcast? I got a podcast in 73 countries.
It's beautiful, like, man.
You know, so I'm exploring yet. It's like I'm in a covered wagon going further west.
Enjoy it, man. Enjoy it, Mr. Gianni. Enjoy it, man. You got the personality, man. Keep going until the wheels fall off, man. Much blessings, much power to you, boss.
And thank you.
Beeline. No problem, sir. Thank you guys so much. As you guys can see, man, this has been an unbelievable episode. I've enjoyed this conversation. This is the first time I'm sitting back like I'm watching a movie. I'm listening to this incredible stuff. But guys, please make sure you go follow Mr. Gianni Russo. We're gonna put down the information so you can pick up his books. You have to get the books now.
Oh, you gotta get the books. The books. You gotta get the books. Of life. Bible's a life of survival.
It's incredible, man. That one story with Marilyn Monroe, that had, I don't know why, that got me more than even the PABL ESCOBARS guy, because I'm just like, I'm one of them type of dudes. Like, you know, I remember when I was younger and I was liking, like, you know, I think all young guys, you have that crush that you watching on movies or whatever. Yeah. And then to be able to be in a position where it's like you met her and you were able to touch her. Listen, bro, I don't even know how you survived. I would have got her pregnant right there. Like, I would have been able to hold myself back. Like, but that's incredible, man. But yeah, so please buy the books, guys. We're gonna put all the information in the description, like always. Until next time, stay true, stay positive, pay attention, baby, and we will be back next Tuesday. I love you guys so much. God bless.
Thank you.
People, check out these amazing promotions that we have this week on the Beeline Entertainment LLC. And if you're interested in promoting on our shows, we want to see it. We know you have amazing content. Just hit us up, send us a message. We there. Check it out. People, the Beeline Entertainment LLC is proudly sponsored by Round Guys Brewing Company. That's right, get amazing crafted beers shipped straight to you. Round Guys Brewing Company. Check them out today at the link below. People, check out my man Philly D on the I'm Telling You podcast. Head on over to YouTube and subscribe today. It's a great show. I'm telling you.
He said it.